Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the WTF1 podcast. It's the Hungarian Grand Prix talking time. My name's Matthew Gallagher, of course, and joining me right over there, in my dreams and in the virtual world, it's Tommy Bellingham. How are you, darling?
I'm good. I enjoyed the race despite everything. Not the greatest of all time, but we'll go into it, won't we?
We will indeed. Shall we dive into some three-word race reviews? I think
Let's
that's a
do
lovely
it.
idea. At Formula Dank Memes, rain disappointed us. At Aaron_W01, AWS go away. At F1_memes.guy, Mercedes are boring. And at Mr. CJNK255, Max's Engineers Masterclass. Yes, rain did disappoint us, Formula Dank Memes, and AWS does need to go away. I will happily agree with that one. Mercedes, yeah, and Max's Engineer, yeah. Do you agree with all of those, Tommy?
4 out of 4. Well done, guys.
Yeah, there's no points for three-word race reviews if we if we agree with them. But there were a few talking points for sure coming out of the Hungarian Grand Prix. But I think we should go. Well, one of them was kind of mentioned in your three-word race review, Tommy. Three-word race review.
Three-word race review is great strategy calls.
Please dive into exactly what you mean there, Tommy.
I will. There are two things. So I will start with the lesser-known one, and a video is now doing the rounds anyway. But Sebastian Vettel, bit of a legend. I do love it when a driver takes things into his own hands and says, I'm the one that knows the conditions. I'm the one driving. Because can you remember Germany when Hamilton had that huge lead and he knew he was on the right tyre, but his team told him to come in and then it wasn't the right tyre and he went off. And it's happened so many times, so many other incidents. And obviously Charles Leclerc, we know what Ferrari are like with their strategy. Charles Leclerc got absolutely shafted because they put the softs on. But I didn't realise till after the race when I saw this video that, because I think it was missed on the world feed, that they asked Seb to pit for softs and he went, no, mediums. So
he did indeed. He said that the rain was stopping. Surely the mediums was a better shout. And well, look how much he benefited from that after Leclerc was causing a train, wasn't he?
Indeed.
It took so long for cars to get through. You had Renault's joining the party, McLaren's joining the party, Racing Point and Perez, and yeah, Vettel could have easily been in exactly the same situation. I find it odd that they would force their hand so early with the soft tyre choice, clearly not going to be able to go that far into the race. And maybe they were gambling on the fact that it was going to rain again and they could just have a short stint on the quicker compounded tyre. But it just seems like an unnecessary sort of risk considering that they had made so many places up at the start of the race.
Reminds me, was it 20? There was an era kind of when, I think it was maybe 2016, where it seemed every race Sebastian Vettel was taking strategy into his own hands because Ferrari were making such bad calls that he was pretty much deciding the strategy as he went along and kind of going against his team because he was so sick of it. And yeah, I do love seeing that. And then also on the flip side, we should talk about a team that we don't tend to talk about a lot because they don't tend to do a lot, but Haas, amazing strategy call from them. And penalty aside, it didn't really matter because they gained so many positions. And who would have thought that we'd see a Haas in P3 and P4 at some point in the race? That was pretty mega. So good job from
amazing
Haas.
To see. We almost saw, was it Kvyat? Was he asking to come in as well?
He was indeed, yeah.
Yeah, and didn't come in the end. And we saw both Haas's coming in, and I was looking at the time deltas for the first couple of laps, and it didn't look particularly great. But just purely because they got the pit stop out the way, then pretty much joined the back of the pack after a while. They gained massively, and it was a huge strategy call, and one that worked really well. So yeah, it was great to see. Just like in previous, not recent years, but back in the day when midfield teams would do an amazing call like this and be higher up the grid. Obviously, they fell away. But Magnussen had an unbelievable race, it has to be said. When you look at both Grosjean and Magnussen were in very similar situations. Grosjean fell away, getting involved in battles, losing time. And I think we heard during the race, there was a team radio to Magnussen saying, look, it's all about the total race time here. Lose as little time as possible, which basically means just let the faster guys through. There's no point fighting them. And they did it perfectly with Kevin, didn't they?
Exactly. I mean, I don't want to get into kind of having a go at Roman Grosjean straight away, but I think they said on the commentary, didn't they, that well, there's no doubt that Alex Albon move was quite the dive bomb and borderline very cheeky. Grosjean's in a Haas and he needs to kind of think, I'm not racing these guys, get out the way. And yeah, okay, it was from very far back and he maybe wasn't expecting it, but it damaged his wing as well, which he mentioned on Instagram, I believe, afterwards as well, saying that it was the contact with Albon that actually damaged his car, and it was a bit of a struggle from then on. But Magnussen, like you say, played it perfectly. And while it's not the most interesting thing to see, because obviously we want to see drivers scrapping for every position, but they played it perfectly, and that Haas is absolutely dreadful. And the fact that Magnussen got P9, P10 after their penalty, I mean, it paid dividends. So fair play to them.
It did indeed. Classic Gamer X11 says, can anyone explain why the Haas cars both got penalties? Since when is calling your drivers in to the pits to change tyres breaking the rules? It was a strategy change. Surely the rule was there to stop them giving information on how to drive the car, which in itself is a rubbish rule. Now, I haven't looked a huge amount into this, and hopefully you can shed light, Tommy, but it was that they were in a mode that they weren't allowed to be in. Was that right?
It is not. No, the situation is the fact, from my understanding, and actually our boy Jack Aitken kindly responded to me as well and gave his little piece on it, because I didn't really know this.
Well, the reason I said that was because of there was something about driver assists. No,
driver coaching. It was called driver aids, which is the rule.
Oh, right. I read that as driver aids as in literal something on the car, but it was more the fact that they were telling them something.
Yeah, 100%. When I read that it was driver aids, because that was, I think, the description they gave. I mean, yeah, 100%. I was saying that it was like, oh, they're in some weird mode or something, because it doesn't make it sound like the team are telling them stuff. Because I think the biggest confusion, and this is what I asked on Twitter, because you saw a couple of weeks ago and even last week, Lando Norris on his final lap, and the team being like, scenario 7, overtake out of turn 1, do this, do that. And you think, well, they're allowed to say that. Why aren't they allowed to say anything? And Jack cleared it up for me. And basically, you're not allowed to coach or say anything on the formation lap. That is strictly against it. So I've got, so if anyone interested, I've actually got the transcript from Magnussen and his team. And Magnussen obviously started on the wets, didn't he? Which was very bold.
Extremely bold.
And Magnussen goes, we've done the wrong thing. It's already a dry line. And then his team says, understood, Kevin, what do you want to do? Then they say, and then they decide, so we'll start and then we'll figure out. And Magnussen says, copy that. And then the team say, okay, Kevin, we'll box now. Now, the problem there is that they've made the call for Magnussen to come in. Magnussen, from what I was told from Jack and everything, the rule is that Magnussen could have made that call. If he'd have gone, it's a dry line, I'm coming in, it would have been no penalty. But because the team said,
That's absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is
God,
absolutely
that ruling is
mad.
Stupid.
Yeah. And it's confusing for fans, which we'll go into later, because there was another very odd penalty, which is confusing, that has actually come up before. But the driver coaching thing, they became a little bit farcical when they first tried to get rid of it, because they wanted drivers to kind of do their own thing. And then we had that ridiculous situation where I think it was Rosberg going, can I do this? And the team didn't know whether they were even allowed to tell him whether he could change his engine from catching on fire or something. I can't remember what it was, but really ridiculous situation. And I think the silly thing is that when I was having this conversation on Twitter with Jack, that it would have been legal, because someone replied to Jack and said, the reason Kvyat didn't get a penalty is because the team didn't answer him. Whereas if they'd have said, come in, he'd have got a penalty. But because they kind of ignored him, it was fine. It's very odd. Very, very, very odd. I mean, I guess Haas won't care because they made so many positions up at the start, but odd rule.
Stupid rule. Like, fair enough. I get that there are rules to make sure that, you know, the drivers have an element of skill and all that good stuff, but things like that is just, it's straight up just pointless. And, you know, you see Haas doing an amazing job, and then, as you say, it's confusing for fans. Don't really know why they're getting this 10-second penalty after the race. Driver aids, what does that mean? It just confuses people, and I'm completely against it, to be honest. And it's a shame as well, because in the future, we may not see this happen again, where we have an outrageous call like that, because the team can't tell the driver that it's like it's drying up, actually. You should probably come into the pits. It's
because my thought of it was Magnussen. It's all right them saying they're not allowed to say anything, and that Magnussen, and obviously the same happened with Grosjean, but that Magnussen. So yeah, Magnussen is allowed to say, "I'm coming in for tires," but not "Shall I come in for tires?" I mean, that's how ridiculous it is, really. And I understand that they want the drivers to make the call, but at the same time, the fact that Haas can't even respond to that radio, like you say, it is going to stop people doing it, because Magnussen isn't going to want to come into the pits in case they've not heard the radio for whatever reason, or they're not ready for him. Yeah. And he's not going to, even if he says, "I'm coming in for dries," he's not going to drive into the pit lane without any kind of confirmation, is he?
Exactly. Silly ruling. Hopefully it gets changed or clarified. I don't know. Right, moving on. Well, I say moving on. We're still talking about penalties. But Tom Douglas 15 asks, do you think the FIA should provide far more insight into the dishing out of penalties? A lot of confusion surrounding Bottas's start, as well as the Haas cars. Confusing not just for the fans, but the commentators as well. Yeah, and I think we've said that before. We've said this in previous seasons, that there needs to be an explanation as to why something isn't given or is given all the time for people that are watching. And I think there was some kind of, Bottas's start has been noted, but there's no clarification after that. When, if people don't know the rulings of, look, if you move before the line, a lot of people will assume that is a penalty. I assumed that it was going to be a penalty because of how much he moved, but it turns out he was within the parameters of 0.2 of a second of the window in which he's allowed to react to, but then he was still in his box. And I mean, he's the luckiest man alive, Valtteri Bottas. I can't believe he's gotten away with this twice now.
And Vettel, it was Vettel, wasn't it, in Japan last year or the year before? Because we had the very same conversation that was like, he kind of rolled forward, and it was so blatantly a jump start. I think that is the thing, like you're saying, that is so annoying for fans, because for all intents and purposes, a jump start is when you roll forward when or move forward when the lights haven't changed. And that's what he did. And the fact that, and the thing is, even if he didn't set the sensor off, you're right. And the Tom Douglas who sent this message in is right. There needs to be something, because I spent the whole race just going, well, why is there not a penalty? Yeah. And they can have all these things like the tyre graphics and Nico Rosberg cheering from the side of the thing, but they can't simply put a little message up that says, Bottas's sensor didn't go off, it's not a penalty, this is why, done.
Exactly. It needs that clarification, because it changes the whole perspective of the race for people watching, because for most of it I was going, well, Bottas is going to get a penalty, so it doesn't matter that he's going to get past whoever. And I was thinking that he was probably going to get a stop go, whatever it would have been. But nothing came of it, no clarification. Obviously, later on in the analysis, fine, but that doesn't matter. It should be during the race. That's the most important part, where people are so invested in what's happening. But if you don't know where Bottas is going to be because it's been noted and that's it, it's the same as when like penalties are given out after the race. It just spoils the show a little bit, in my opinion.
It's not as well. Yeah, you're totally right that we need to think about, obviously we live and breathe Formula One and we love it and we read everything about it and we absorb all the post-race stuff, but you've got to think that, I can't think of a percentage, but a lot of Formula One fans are going to be watching that race, and then as soon as the race finishes, they will tune in next week. So there needs to be some kind of clarification in the race. You don't get it in other sports where you find out that, oh, actually, this was a goal.
Like, exactly.
No,
after the match. Oh,
it's not good.
The other team
it's
won.
not good enough, to be fair. Like, it really isn't.
Crazy. Anyway, Bottas's jump start, we mentioned it, at 42696C6C79. I think pretty sure that person was also in IBR. Why wasn't Bottas penalised for a clear jump start? Now, my understanding of it, and it was when I watched the Sky analysis afterwards with Karun and Anthony Davidson, there is a window with which the driver is allowed to react to, what was it? It's 0.2 of a second that they're allowed to move before the lights go out, or or something like that. Well, because it was a combination of that and also the fact that he was still in his grid box when the lights went out.
Yeah.
So they were doing it frame by frame, and you could see that literally one more frame, which is apparently like 0.07 of a second or 0.5 of a second, one more of those, and he probably would have been out of his grid box, and it would have been a penalty. But he was still in his grid box, the sensor didn't go off, and he was within the parameters of that 0.2 of a second that he's allowed to react to it. I mean, it's confusing as hell.
It's confusing because, it kind of... people will now be going, well, that is technically the rule, and just look into it. And Vettel had his penalty, didn't get a penalty in Japan. It's allowed, but I think the question here is, should it be allowed? Because for a Formula One fan that's especially new to the sport, that was literally a jump start. Like, yeah. I know technically a computer says it's not a jump start, but a jump start is when you go forward, like, before the lights go out. That's a jump start. So if you're a fan watching that, it's confusing. You have to put it into like new fans' perspective and people watching the sport and trying to learn it for the first time, and doesn't have all this context and doesn't sit and listen to us chat rubbish about a race for 2 hours. That needs to be cleared up for me, because it's like that football game recently where the ball went over the line, but because the referee's watch didn't beep, it wasn't a goal, even though it was clearly a goal. You can't do that. Like, you can see it with your own eyes that it's a jump start. It's very very odd.
And I find it weird that there is those parameters that they're allowed to react or whatever it is that they call it, because for me, Bottas, as much as, yes, he had a terrible start because he then had to re-engage the clutch and everything else, he's, in my opinion, he said that it was, down to a light on his dash changing or whatever. But in my opinion, he's risked it for the chocolate biscuit, and it's not paid off.
Yeah,
because surely that is if he moves, he's gone for it. He's absolutely, put all his eggs in one basket here. Thinks the light's going out, stops, and then loses positions. But for me, even though he has lost positions, that isn't even part of the reason why he wasn't given a penalty. It's just down to the fact that it wasn't within the sensors. But yeah, as you say, it just doesn't make much sense for new fans. And, as much as us hardcores love reading and analysing everything afterwards, as you say, the general punter won't. And I think that's one of the reasons why this sport never really grows into the territory of football. It's because there's so many little nuances that you watch and go, well, why has that happened?
Yeah,
this doesn't make sense.
And I think it shows that, I mean, we've got, our following on Twitter, followers because they are no doubt Formula One fans. And these are like knowledgeable Formula One fans still asking us after the race, why didn't Bottas get a penalty? Why is Haas got a penalty? Yeah. It's not, you have to put yourself into like the perspective that people aren't going to read for like 3 or 4 hours about like rules and regulations. It needs to be clear during the race, and
you need the clarification on the screen. That's it. Like that's all you need. It's so simple, and yet apparently it's not put into the broadcast because it needs to happen. So,
but we can have Nico Rosberg. We can have Nico Rosberg cheering though.
Oh, I mean that's high quality content. Rosberg always seems to pop up, doesn't he? Anyway, let's move on. We've had a lot of ranting. Let's calm down the rant express and move on to my 3-word race review. I say rant.
Yeah, I was thinking
over. This isn't ranting. This is me just saying that my 3-word race review had higher expectations. Now, obviously, we're going into the race, the formation lap. Verstappen crashes. And we have a wet track, drying conditions, but they're still starting on intermediates. You're thinking this could be a banger.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, in my opinion. My expectations were higher than what the race actually was. The first, few laps and when they were all pitting was interesting, but Hamilton had checked out. The midfield was great, don't get me wrong, but I think my expectations were higher due to the circumstances and scenario we had in front of us. Dan Hatton 18 says, where was the rain everyone expected in 5 minutes?
Oh my god. I think we need to do an F101 video about what what superpower do Formula One cars have going around a racetrack that it means that rain doesn't fall in a specific area when
It's always
all
down
the
the road.
forecasts? Yeah, because there's a water park, isn't there, nearby? And they
Oh,
were
don't,
talking
please.
about
I've
it.
ranted on an IBR about that bloody water park that they were talking about. I don't care. I don't care if there's a bloody water park having rain.
Oh yeah, I know, but that is it, isn't it? The fact that
that's our luck.
That why is it always next door or after the podium's finished? Why isn't it ever on the track? I mean,
I don't know.
It's crazy.
Cursed. We're cursed. But yeah, we were all very disappointed, weren't we? When rain in 9 laps. 9 laps later, rain in 9 laps.
I think
okay. Medium rain in 5 minutes. What on earth is medium rain?
I wasn't personally. I saw there was a lot of reaction that was like, "Oh my god, that's the most boring race I've ever seen." I personally don't agree with that, and I feel like maybe that I've just grown immune to the rain in 5 minutes race now, where I don't believe it, and I can just get my head around that it's not going to happen, and I don't get my hopes up anymore.
God, that's really pessimistic.
I know it's really pessimistic, but
you're a glass half empty kind of guy, aren't you? Jeez.
But I personally thought the race was good. There's a lot of like nice midfield battles, but yeah, it was a shame that we didn't get the rain, and then obviously it's never been the greatest track for overtaking, even though I do like the track.
Yeah, it's not the best. It's not one that I go, oh, Hungary this weekend. Yes, can't wait. It's probably going to be boring. Let's hope for something crazy to happen. T. Nevitt, 1996. Is it time for F1 to finally drop the Hungarian Grand Prix? Sure, last year's charge from Lewis was great, but that's the only memorable moment from races in Hungary in the last 5 seasons.
No, that's rubbish.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either. I think there's been quite a few quite interesting races around Hungary. It's certainly been a lot of crashes, and I know that Sky were milking that.
From off the top of my head, 2015 was a banger. 2014 was a banger. 2011 was a banger.
Can you remember what 14 and 15 were, Tommy, for people wondering?
15 was the race where Vettel won, Kvyat got on the podium for Red Bull, and the Mercedes, I think, just went off, and there was a lot of craziness. 2014 was the one where Danny Rick, when they still had the Pirelli rubber that just disintegrated, and Danny Rick won the race, came back to beat Hamilton. And
actually,
Alonso.
I guess, to be fair, T. Nevitt still makes a point, because if he says last 5 seasons, that's 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So.
Oh, wow. How 2015's? No, 2015's last year, right? It's not.
No, but in the last 5 seasons, as in 20, as in now,
yeah. Okay.
So
fair.
You've been done.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. I mean,
live on the podcast, T. Nevitt 1996 takes down the founder. You have now been promoted to WTF1 founder. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, Tommy.
Thank you. Yeah. No, I think Hungary's a good track, and it's not the greatest for overtaking, but for me, I don't think it's necessarily has bad races like everything else. And I personally don't like. We've mentioned it a few times. Maybe Paul Ricard is justified, but I don't personally feel like every time there's a bad race at a track, we need to be like, get rid of it, because the 2022 cars as well, like, it could provide great racing. And the thing I do like about Hungary, actually, just going on to why I like Hungary, you do get a different kind of overtake there, which I appreciate doesn't happen all the time, but turn 2, Leclerc and Norris wheel banging, that's awesome. Like, I'd much rather see a couple of those in a race than slam dunk DRS passes down the main straight. So yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, and F2 delivered. I don't know if you watched F1
yeah.
T Nevitt, F2 T Nevitt, but F2 delivered. Formula One maybe hasn't been that great, as you say, in the previous seasons, but and it's weird to think that Hungary doesn't get these calls to be dropped from the calendar from fans, because it has about as many overtaking opportunities as Monaco, because most of it is single file. The whole of pretty much the middle sector is, and towards the last sector, you don't really have too many opportunities at all. But F2, I mean, it was amazing this weekend. You had all sorts of ridiculous overtakes happening because the tyres were dropping off so quickly. I would love to see in Formula One tyre warmers just taken out, just take them out. It just provides a little bit more entertainment when you watch F2 and the guys coming out the pits and not having ridiculous tyres to begin with because they have to warm them up. And it just provides that little bit of uncertainty that Formula One needs. And I don't think that's too much to ask for.
No, the F2 race was really good. And again, Formula 2, while you could argue that it's not necessarily a great thing for a stepping stone for a Formula 1 series, the reason it's so entertaining is because they do have the tyres that struggle again. And we did see that a little bit in that race, but maybe not enough, because when Bottas pitted, wasn't he like 3 seconds a lap quicker, and everyone went... But the thing is, then everyone has to react straight away. And then they chop off the undercut, and then everyone pits at the same time. So it's that fine line between being able to pit and have a good strategy versus everyone coming in at the same time. And unfortunately, it didn't quite work out with the tyres. It could have been really spicy having like Bottas pitting for fresher tyres and closing in on Max, and it did come close. Maybe if we had another couple of laps, we would have had a nice battle, and we would have got to see how much Bottas, really wants to win this world title, going for a move on Max. So that would have been interesting, but unfortunately we run out of laps.
Indeed. At Drummond_TX, I'm a newish fan. What makes overtaking at a circuit like this so difficult as opposed to a circuit like Austria? Well,
corners.
yeah. I mean, there you go. Moving on. No, there's not really many heavy braking zones around Hungary. Obviously, you have turn 1, which is the best opportunity to overtake. Turn 2, you just have a couple of different lines that you can take through there, and it is pretty heavy braking as well. But then the rest of it is very much single file. It's narrow. There's chicanes. There's, it's very tight and twisty. And then you get towards the end of the sector, and then again, like there's not really any sort of diving wide areas in the last sector either. So that's what it makes just turn 1 and turn 2 the best opportunities, because, well, DRS as well. And DRS isn't really applicable anywhere else around the track.
No, the drivers love it, don't they, Hungary, because I think it feels like a go-kart track. Yeah, exactly. I think the thing with Hungary as well is you've got that main straight into the hairpin, which should be, in theory, good for overtaking, but that final corner isn't particularly great for dirty air. When you're kind of coming around that final corner, it's quite hard to follow to then get a run. So it does require a kind of, like you say, Alex Alban on Grosjean dive bomb and hope they get out of the way.
Yeah.
But right, maybe in 2022 when
hopefully maybe Hungary will become an amazing track now. In 2022 when we have less aero wash, as they call it. Mercedes, are they unbeatable? Alex_Hunt90. Will we see a clean sweep of race wins from Mercedes this year? And if not, who will break that streak? I love this question. It brings so much joy that we have this question already being asked. No, they are not going to win every single race this year. It's not going to happen. There's going to be one just ridiculous race that happens. Yeah. They're not going to win every single one. If they do, then I'm fine with it, because F1's back and that's all that matters.
Yeah, when we get to race 15 and Mercedes won 15
in a row. Who will break that streak? Red Bull. Verstappen will win a race.
Yeah. We need a Germany crazy race or a double DNF for Mercedes, personally, to feel like they, to feel like it's going to happen. But I'm going
to have a look at the weather quickly. What's the weather saying for...
It's a couple of weeks, though, isn't
14 days, isn't it? It's not particularly accurate, is it? I keep thinking it's this next weekend. I'm like, it's a back to back, but it's not.
Yeah, we've been spoiled, haven't we, by just constant races? But
yeah, I think everybody needs a break, so we'll allow them this week off.
Go on, man.
But yeah, you agree, Verstappen and Red Bull?
I think they'll get one. But
that's all that matters to stop a clean sweep.
Yeah, the thing is, we say it every year. So that. Yeah, we say it every year, don't we? And if you think that the 2014 to 2016 era was when literally Mercedes were on pole at every race and nothing realistically could beat them, you still had like 3 races a year where they didn't win. And even the McLaren, when they were dominant in the 80s, they failed to win a race. So no one's ever done it where they've won every race, and it would take some incredible feat to do it.
So it would take a shorter season. Oh, wait.
It would take a really good car in a shorter season, or their main rivals being terrible. Oh wait.
Oh no, that's real. As long as he doesn't break Schumacher's record at the Ferrari 1000 race.
Yes. Did you see that? If Lewis wins every race,
single one. Yeah.
Which I don't think is out the question, but
no, because he needs 6 more, is it?
As if it's only 6 now. That's insane.
I think he's on 85 now, isn't he?
Yeah, 90 poles as well. Oh my days.
Oh God! Right, I'm gonna have to get ready to not cry when he beats Schumacher's record. Right, moving on. Luke Nunn Dogs says, "Do you think that with the car Mercedes have got, it's possible for Lewis to reach or break Michael's win?" Okay, brilliant. All right, that question.
Moving on.
Yes, yes. Of course, he's gonna break Michael's win record. He's 6 wins away, unless Mercedes literally lose all funding. And I mean, even if they didn't develop the car for the rest of the year, they'd probably still get 6 more wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I can see it now, especially with the fact that there's not going to be many developments or upgrades for the teams between now and next year in terms of huge car changes. Hamilton's going to have 8 titles under his belt before 2022. I can see 100%. Him now with the way the Mercedes are, that he could hit 10.
Yeah.
Which is quite shocking because I don't think he's better than Michael Schumacher. But also, it's just the situation you're in, isn't it? It's not like, you can say that Fernando Alonso deserves more than 2, but it's luck of the draw a lot of the time because you need to be in the right team at the right time.
Yeah, true. Although I still don't buy the whole car thing because in terms of yes, you have to have a good car. It works both ways, doesn't it? You have to have a good car to win the title. No one's ever won a world title not in a dominant or at least a very, very good car. So yeah, Lewis has done everything he needs to do, and I mean he still keeps delivering.
Schumi put the foundations down. He did all the work at Mercedes, and Lewis swooped in, took all the fame. I'm telling you that.
Not a fanboy. Not a fan
conspiracy.
Yeah. I mean, we need Bottas to step up, if anything, if it's really not going to happen. But I mean, Bottas 3.0 lasted 1 weekend, so we shall see.
Just every single season, isn't it? Bottas just seems to just fall away. Well, it's not supposed to be this early, Bottas. Come on. Bring it back.
Come on.
Let's talk about someone that did do a very good drive this weekend, and he deserves all the credit. It's Lance Stroll.
Yes.
I love how this is the question about it. At Mikel Koch, is Stroll actually underrated? I mean, why do we have to always talk about if someone's underrated, overrated, middle rated?
It's the only question I could.
About Stroll.
Yeah. Okay.
Good performance.
Ignore the question. It was just an excuse to talk about Stroll because people think that for whatever reason we don't like him and we never talk about him. But at the end of the day, we've said so many times on this podcast that even the people that are not great drivers, and Stroll hasn't been a particularly great driver, and he's been decent, but he's not done as much as you think he would. And, he's still won F3 championships and done really well. And again, it goes back to the whole situation about having a good car. He's got this car now that can prove something. And he's especially in that race. I mean, he wiped the floor with Perez this weekend, which is, what a time to do that.
Absolutely. And I won't have people saying that we're horrible about him all the time.
No.
Sorry, but if you're getting knocked out in Q1 for about 12 consecutive races or whatever it was, don't quote me on that. Probably isn't that record, but he was getting knocked out all the time in Q1. He deserved the criticism that we and everyone else was giving him. Yes, he did decent race results, but he was never beating Perez.
Yeah.
Now we can say, look, you've had an amazing weekend, Stroll. You've beaten Perez completely, wiped the floor with him, it has to be said, with both qualifying and the race. So now I can very much say that Lance Stroll, look, you did a really good job, and hands up, is exactly what he needed, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so,
and he needs to keep doing it. And if he does, then fair play to him, because what a time to deliver that performance with all the rumours that Sebastian Vettel might be going to Aston Martin or Racing Point as it is now. And there's been the whole thing about Checo being potentially dropped and everyone hashtagging keep Checo. And like we're saying, Lance has just delivered one of the greatest performances of his career when it really matters. So we shall see how the season pans out. Yeah,
absolutely. We are not against giving drivers praise when they deserve it. And Stroll deserved criticism and then deserved some praise. There you
Absolutely.
go. Verstappen won driver of the day, but it should have been the mechanics, really, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
At Sismit, could it be that Max? Okay, this is conspiracy, and I love a conspiracy, not purely because I believe them, but because it's just funny. Could it be? And hear me out, or hear this person out. Could it be that Max deliberately crashed so that he could alter the suspension? I'm a huge F1 and Max fan. I just happened to see them also working on the right side. I'm pretty sure that would be illegal.
I'm pretty sure that would be the boldest strategy call in the history of Formula One.
Okay, Max, lock up going into the... and just hit it hard enough that it breaks the front left, but not too hard that it just destroys the whole car.
Yeah.
And that we need to do it within 20 seconds of we need to do all the setup changes, 20 seconds to spare.
Yeah.
All good?
Yeah, that's what I read as well. Like, did you see that thing that it was 25 seconds before they had to get off the grid that they finished it? Unbelievable from Red Bull. Like, fair play to him. Heroes.
I love that. I love the fact that this person thinks it was a conspiracy theory. They work on all sides of the car in terms of they stand there and make sure temperatures are right and, you know, tire blankets and all that good stuff. So it's not like they just would stand at the left side and that's it.
Try the grid.
Yeah.
Try the grid.
Technically not allowed to do that either, are they? But Alban got away with that.
Yeah.
Very strange. I don't know how they got away with that. I didn't see a replay of it. Did you?
Apparently, from what I heard, and this, if this is true, it's the most ridiculous thing ever. They left it there, and it just happened to dry the track, and they were like, "Oh, we just left the fan there."
Now that's rubbish. Yeah, just drop that there. Oh, sorry, mate. Yeah, I left it there. Yeah, no worries.
I've left it there and turned on.
But yeah, Verstappen was decently driver of the day. He had an amazing start, 7th to 3rd. Saw the start, brilliant.
Yeah.
Used the outside line into turn 1, which has been always the best line in previous years, and he took that, took advantage of it. I think very closely followed by Stroll, and then Magnussen up there as well for me. But yeah, I could see why Max won driver of the day.
Yeah, driver of the race, certainly. It's one of those things where driver of the day when you've binned it in the wall on the formation lap. I can see why people are a little bit... He personally wasn't my driver of the day. We'll go into it in A, B, C, D, E, F.
Wow!
I know, even me.
Tommy, Verstappen fanboy?
I know, but, I mean... So back to fanboying about him. It is funny, isn't it, that he's just gone off. He's had his car rebuilt with 20 seconds to go, and you think, right, maybe take it a little bit careful into turn 1. No, 7th to 3rd, around the outside of everyone. That's just very Max Verstappen, isn't it? He doesn't have a filter, really, does he?
If the one mistake he's going to make is before the race starts, then do it.
Yeah, fair play.
So
it's a bit like Vettel when he, in his dominant Red Bull era, he always used to like bin it, didn't he, in practice. And smash up the car to smithereens, and then in the race.
But that's because he wanted to change his suspension.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all coming out now, Red Bull.
Yeah. Right, now it's time for...
Well, rubbish. Because the jingle's playing now.
Okay, so the jingle's playing now.
Yeah, now go.
Okay, ABCDEF1 time. Let's start from the bottom and go up.
Oh.
Latifi.
Oh dear, poor guy.
I don't want to rate him. I was going to say not too harshly because he was up to P10.
Oh wow!
On lap 1, and we thought this is the Williams dream. Nicholas Latifi staking his claim at the team, but then got released out into Carlos Sainz, which was one of the most dangerous releases I've ever seen. I mean, where was Carlos going to go? Nearly went into the left side concrete wall.
Yeah.
Then he obviously got the puncture, spun, and then after that, it was one of the worst races I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He finished 5 laps down.
Oh no, bless him. It just ruined his race, didn't it? The puncture, and it really did just start a kind of catalogue of errors, really. You got to feel sorry for Williams because they were up there and just a very big... They did the opposite, didn't they, of Vettel, where they just let him out rather than Vettel, who was left waiting for no reason. They just let him out into traffic. Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because
I
think that's a bit harsh. I think
finished 5 laps down, Tommy.
Yeah, but his race was over from something that wasn't his fault, really. So I'd give him a D.
Okay, D, fine. George Russell.
B. I mean, his qualifying was mega,
great
wasn't
qualifying. Didn't see too much of him in the race.
It's a shame, isn't it, that Williams look like we've had 2 or 3 races now where Williams look like, oh, come on, they're gonna get points here, and they've still ended up last.
Yeah, sad, but they'll get there. They will get there. There's hope. We'll give him a B. Grosjean, I'm going to give him a D.
I think a C's fair. I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't he finish like 16th?
C. Yeah, but
he was in 4th.
I guess the thing is, it's damage from Alban, isn't it?
Well, don't crash into Alban. Just let him through.
Yeah, he should
stop defending.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking that the damage from Alban is what did it for him, but then it's partly his fault because even though it was an Alban,
it's all about no time lost. Just let him through.
D.
Give him wider berth. You know what I'm saying?
D for Grosjean.
D for Grosjean. That's the biggest D I've ever seen. Magnussen, A.
Borderline A star, I think. I mean, there's no way he could have got anything else out of that car. I mean, that Haas is absolutely woeful. He's driver of the day.
Okay, we're going to give out Magnussen an A star straight out the blocks. Lovely. His first ever A star. I can guarantee you that. And I haven't even looked at the records. Giovinazzi.
Oh, D again. Just no.
D, yeah.
He's just a bit anonymous, isn't he? And doesn't really have the pace. So yeah,
it's a shame because I thought he was going to be starting the season off well. But
yeah,
it's difficult to not be anonymous when you're in that Alfa Romeo at the moment.
But we've said people can do it. The good drivers can do it.
Charles Leclerc,
yeah,
in the Sauber.
Sebastian Vettel.
Okay, so Giovinazzi D, Raikkonen. He was doing all right, and then I don't really know what happened. I think he had a slow pit stop because he was fighting around.
He
Ocon
takes
areas.
his time, as he says in the Alfa advert.
The worst advert ever made. It just makes no sense whatsoever.
C,
but C, I want to give him a B. He was making moves. But I'm pretty sure he was screwed over by his team because he was fighting Ocon.
Okay, I mean, if you know more than me, I can't say that I was like completely invested in Raikkonen's race.
I'm giving him a B.
Okay,
Lance Stroll,
A
star.
Oh, A star.
What more could he have done?
I think he
gapped Perez.
Yeah, his qualifying
beat him
was
by
perfect.
over half a minute.
He got into
Amazing
P2
qualifying.
at the start as well. I think. Actually, no. Okay, A star's fine. I was thinking. He said himself something along the lines of, "We should have got a podium," but I think it was the strategy call, which obviously it's not. You can't really give him.
Right.
So.
Okay. I was going to say, how was he supposed to get a podium?
Yeah.
Who was he going to beat? Bottas or Verstappen? Come on, chill out. I guess he means the fact that Bottas undercut him and then they stayed out.
Yeah.
So I guess what they really should have done, but then it is still difficult, isn't it? Because if they'd pitted earlier, Bottas could have easily probably just set a really quick lap time, then come into the pits. Maybe he had enough.
Yeah, I can't believe Bottas didn't get past him as well when he was behind him.
I know, decent pace.
Yeah,
has to be said. But yeah, I am rather intrigued that Racing Point didn't kind of just throw caution to the wind a little bit and just almost cover off the undercut.
Yeah,
because leaving him out there, he was 100% going to be undercut. If he at least risked it, they don't know how much grip Bottas has, so they could have potentially kept track position. Whether they would have kept Bottas behind or not, who knows? But it's a shame. It's a shame that they couldn't have at least fought for a podium. Okay, so I still want A star. Perez,
very, very un-Perez-like. Yeah, definitely C.
Yeah. Kvyat.
C again. Bit anonymous again, yeah. But I don't think
Gasly.
Gasly's just doing. I know he had like the engine problems, but he got into Q3, didn't he? When Kvyat didn't even get into Q1 out of Q1. So, I mean, Gasly's doing B. Yeah.
Yeah, B. Ocon.
Oh dear.
Still being beaten by Ricciardo at the moment.
I think it's borderline D. Didn't seem to have any pace, and
I'm
really disappointing.
very surprised.
Yeah, I
thought he'd take the fight.
I'm disappointed and surprised.
But 3 races in, let's see. You know, Ocon's got a multi-year contract, hasn't he? So
he has.
Let's see if he comes into his own, because it must be difficult having a year out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if this trend continues throughout the year, it could be could be breaking for chances of him moving up in the world of Formula One teams.
Yeah.
Okay, so D, Ricardo.
B, solid B,
B.
I think. Yeah, got everything
Yep,
out of the Renault
solid
he
B.
could.
Lando Norris, bit of an off day for him. He said that he could have done a hell of a lot more. So, gonna have to give him a D.
Yeah, I thought that. It's definitely a C or a D. He admitted himself that, he said that McLaren had no pace, but him messing up the start just blew all their chances anyway. So,
yeah.
he was
down in 18th, wasn't he, for a while? So
nice little nice battles and stuff. But yeah, not
nice
not
battle
a
with
good
Leclerc,
week.
but still the overall performance probably a D.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'll fight back though.
Yep.
Carlos Sainz.
Again, McLaren a bit anonymous. Maybe.
Yeah, he was on the outskirts of the points, wasn't he?
C or I think
he was 9th, didn't he?
Oh, he did a lot better than Lando. Maybe B.
Yeah, B.
Just into the B, I reckon.
It's weird how McLaren have just kind of gone from these, really high-performing round racing point sort of area to nowhere around Hungary. But I guess that just shows the different characteristics of the tracks. It's all about downforce, which is not what McLaren are boasting, is it? So
yeah.
Okay, Alex Albon.
C.
I don't want to give him any more. Yeah, I was going to say, bad qualifying, struggled all weekend. People are, saying, oh, he got up to 5th. I'm like, what did he do?
He's behind Stroll.
Verstappen's a minute down the road.
and split the OP Mercedes. So, I know and Verstappen's and people always say Verstappen's on another level, but he's got to be closer.
He's got to be finishing 4th. There's no way that isn't possible in that Red Bull. I know it's difficult. He has been struggling, and I am trying to be understanding, but at the same time, finishing behind Stroll by quite a margin as well. Deserves a C, I think.
Yep.
Verstappen, I want to say an A.
Yeah, A. I don't
Definitely
think he can't get an A star after crashing, and his qualifying even.
Yeah, was a bit poor as well.
Yeah.
Vettel, I'd want to give him an A.
I want to give him an A for that strategy call. It absolutely saved his race. When you look at where Leclerc finished versus Vettel, it pretty much all came down to Vettel just going against Ferrari's strategy, and I think absolutely fair play to him for doing that. Yeah. So A.
A for Vettel. Leclerc, D.
Oh, he was out the points, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I guess it's one of those things where it's not totally his fault because
Vettel shows that it kind of is, though. That's the thing, because he fought back and said, look, softs aren't going to work if it's drying out. Leclerc's gone with the strategy, which is fine. You're supposed to believe in your team, but there wasn't any element of questioning. And that kind of, for me, shows a 4-time F1 champion knowing exactly what he wants and needs.
Yeah, that's
and
very
Leclerc
true.
maybe just kind of going with the flow and just agreeing with the team, which... maybe in the future he won't do.
He's naive. He's still new to Ferrari. Yeah, I think it's borderline D and C. So I'll let you.
I'm giving Leclerc.
I'm
not going to even say the rest of that word. A D grade for Leclerc. that would have been clipped.
Yeah.
Valtteri Bottas.
Oh my God. It's got to be a C.
Yeah, I want to say a C.
You can't. I think it's going to be
terrible start.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a C, isn't it? If he doesn't, if a Mercedes doesn't finish second, they get in a C.
Yeah, 100%.
Unless for whatever, unless it's a mechanical or something. So yeah, Bottas should have done a lot better. Messed his start up. Didn't really. I mean, we were saying about how close he was to Max at the end. If he'd have been a bit braver, maybe passing Stroll, or he had another moment where he went at the inside of someone and went off. Can't remember who it was. Leclerc, was it?
I think.
Yeah,
up the inside at turn 2 when he went on the water.
He might have had been there at the end. So, not what we want to see when Hamilton's running away with it at the front.
C for Bottas, and finally Lewis Hamilton. I think you can't give anything less than an A star to the lad.
Nope, it's boring but
perfect.
Faultless. Perfect. I mean, he was 7 seconds clear in about 3 laps, wasn't he? It's unbelievable.
He just checked out. Too good. You have to admire it, but as an F1 fan, it also hurts.
Yeah.
Simples. Right, let's go into our Hungarian Grand Prix predictions. Good. I said Perez podium. That was the wrong person and also still wrong, but so the 0 points. And Alban off the pace, I think that is fair to say that he was half a second or a lap slower at least than Verstappen.
Yeah, I mean, especially qualifying. It's a bit of a vague prediction, but we do.
Hey, I clarified half a second off.
Oh, and this is where I ruined it by going.
Yeah, you absolutely screwed it. What were your two, Tommy?
Mine was Russell knocks out a Renault in Q1, and he got into Q2 and out-qualified a Renault, but I was too specific, so I'm having half
Too specific, and I saw you on Twitter going, "Oh, I'm going to get half a point." You're not. No.
What?
I said I was going to give you 2 points if it was all right. I never said that if you get... Because then I could just make 7 elaborate claims into one prediction and go, well, that's 3.5 points.
Okay, well, I will remember this then.
Don't come at me with specific predictions and trying to do a me from Austria, okay? You can't be me.
Okay.
And Vettel podium, absolutely not.
No.
It's fine. With this 1 point, we're now level again, so it makes it interesting.
Okay.
We've got to make it interesting for the fans, Tommy.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Think of the content.
Yeah, exactly. And the fans, Formula Avery, another wet qualifying?
Yep.
No.
No, got it wrong.
There wasn't any water, was there?
Oh, I'm trying to remember now.
Yeah,
no,
you were about to say yeah, weren't you?
No, it was just threat of rain, wasn't it, on the Saturday? Because the F3 and it was the F3 that was wet, wasn't it? And then it was dry by the time they started. So yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I was like, I went, that's wrong, and then I was thinking, was it? I can't remember back to Saturday now. It was definitely dry. And Josh T2110, no Mercedes on the podium. Why are you saying oh wow?
I mean, just that is the most.
How wrong it is.
How wrong and ambitious it
how
is. How
unbelievably wrong it was. But thanks for the ambition, Josh. Silverstone Grand Prix predictions, the British Grand Prix even. My two were at least one Ferrari out before Q3, and Ocon beats Ricciardo.
Nice, yeah.
I don't know what in the race or in the race.
Yeah, I think
maybe.
I think Ferrari might struggle with their power unit around.
Yeah,
Silverstone.
What's your two, Tommy?
Mine is a Mercedes Racing Point top 4. So
Mercedes in whatever order, at least they're both in there.
Yeah, both cars.
Okay.
And then it will be another threat of rain race, which I will.
Oh, look at you! I mean, it's England. God, you are something else, aren't you?
I mean, I've been shafted the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
so
you've gone from really specific to there might be some precipitation at some point during the weekend.
In the UK,
right, the two fans
in July.
Daniel skews F1. Lewis says we have the best fans sat at home. I don't think that's going to happen, but good on you if it does. And Fiona_Sprayer, Russell first point.
That'd be nice.
Possible. That'd be nice to see, especially at his home race, even though there's no fans. But hey ho, very sad actually that we can't go. It would have been the British Grand Prix this weekend just gone. So just want to say we miss you. We'd love to have seen a lot of you that turn up and say hello. And it's my favourite weekend of the year by quite a stretch, I would say. So yeah, I hope that everything gets back to normal soon, so we can see some of you wonderful people that watch and listen to our content. So yeah, we love you lots.
Agreed
Indeed. And that's it. We're done. That's it. The WTF1 podcast is complete. Wherever you're listening or watching, please sure to either give it a thumbs up or 5 stars, nothing less. You know we deserve all of the stars. It allows us to eat, although stars doesn't convert to money.
We only eat stars. Milky Way magic stars.
Show my reviews to Tesco cashier. Anyway, right, that's it. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and that is pretty much it. If you want to get involved in terms of asking us questions, make sure to be on social media. Twitter's the easiest way. Use the hashtag WTF1 podcast, and that is it. All right, Tommy, it's been a pleasure speaking to you once again. I'm turning to you as if you're here. You're actually just a washing bin, but you're looking good.
A trophy with a pillow in it.
Oh yeah, you know it. Is it a first place?
It is. It is the massive 24-hour one that you didn't win.
Nice. Yeah, thanks. Cheers. It's all right. Not like I was busy or anything. Anyway, right. Thanks so much, Tommy.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Speak to you soon. Bye, everyone. See you later. Bye, Tommy. Bye, Tommy. Bye.
Bye, Trophy.